Hey everybody, it's Lawrence over at Kia. Today we are going to try to replace that ugly CFL light bulb, which is usually these 4-pin or 2-pin, and try and get a color that looks a little bit more like right behind me over there, what they usually call 3000 Kelvin. What I did was I ended up getting some LEDs. So this is something I picked up on Amazon, right? It's a retrofit LED. 4-inch because I measured the hole earlier. And what's great about this is if you look really closely, it has like 5 different settings, everything from 2700K, which is pretty warm white, which is more yellowish, to 3000, 3500, 4000, then 5000. But we don't want anything too white because that's essentially the CFL. And it actually saves more energy because LEDs are lower power consumption. So let's go take a look at one of those housing and see what it looks like. So before we actually look at the housing, one of the things we want to make sure is have something so we can actually see. So a headlamp is really useful. We need to make sure the electricity is off, so the switch is off, no power to the light. And then lastly, I ended up getting a tote to catch all the dust that falls from those recessed lighting housings because there's a lot of dust that accumulates or drywall. And I'm going to use that to catch. So now we're gonna go try and take a look at the housing. So now that we're all either on a ladder or something that's a little bit taller and safe, we're a little bit closer to the housing right here. The problem that we have is that some of the housing is just really loose because it's been over 10 years and we don't like the color. It uses a lot more energy. And lastly, some of them are just broken. They don't even turn on anymore. This one still turns on, but definitely is loose. Now, what we're going to do is we're gonna pull this trim plate off. And once you pull the trim plate off, that's what it looks like. You can access the can that's underneath. And when you look up into the can, it's gonna look something like this. Your CFL tube is actually plugged into this receptacle, 4-pin receptacle. And this is mounted at the very top of the can. I already cut this one off of another one, but what we're gonna do is the same thing. But these cans usually have screws. About 3 of them, equidistant apart. And we're just gonna use a Phillips screwdriver to unscrew these. That way the can can move. And then you'll be able to pull the can down so you can access the wires underneath. Is essentially what we want to do. This is what the can looks like. And you can see ours is a little bit detached because over time the plastic sometimes breaks. And in this case, when we were replacing the CFL tube, it ended up breaking. That's why it's loose now. Quite loose. What I did was I unscrewed these little holes, and so this can should be able to come down. Yep, just like that. So just gently pull. What we're trying to do is we're trying to access the wires. And the reason why is CFL is going to use line voltage, and these wires come out of a ballast. So the voltage is actually different for CFL. And so what we need to do is we need to cut all the wires from the ballast, wire it back up to the line voltage, and then hook up the LED that we purchased, and then everything should be good. Now at a better angle with the headlamp on, you can see the wires going into the can, and they go all the way up into this metal box on the inside, which is what that ballast is. And so that ballast box usually has some type of lever, which you see over here on the right. We have to move that lever in order for that metal panel to come out so we can see all the wires underneath. This is what it looks like when you take out the wire caps and untwist the wires. You have these 4 wires right here, and they go into this can. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this can and we're going to, you can see it on the inside, goes into that receptacle. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just cut off the wires to the receptacle, that we can just pull the CFL tube out. And we're going to leave 1 red and 1 blue wire because that's what we're going to hook up to the white and the black. And then what we're going to also do, take this guy and we're going to cut off the wires here because we're going to wire these up using the wire nuts that we took off to the red and blue wire. Okay, we're back at the ceiling, and so here's the black and here's the white. And so we can push a wire right into the 3rd hole on each one of these to connect the wires together. With the red and the blue, we're just gonna cut that all the way back at the base back there. That way we don't have all that messy wire in there. So I'll show you what it looks like once everything's cut and connected. So now with everything hooked up, we push the red wire into that third hole to connect the black wire to the red wire, and then the blue similarly. Push it into the third hole for that wire connector, and then back in the ballast box, we just cut off all 4 of those, 2 red and 2 blue, just to make things a little cleaner. What we're gonna do is we're gonna push all of this back up into that metal box, and then we're gonna put this metal plate on. And then we're gonna push the can in there. And then lastly, we're gonna push this recessed LED back into the can after we put these 3 screws on as well. And I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. So this is what it looks like once the recessed can is back in, secured by those 3 screws. We have our LED light fixture that's hanging down. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna test the light and turn on the light switch right here. Oop. And what I'm gonna show you is a lot of these LED lights actually have a lot of different settings. So what I'm gonna do is twist it around so you can see. So the switch allows you to change color. So that is the 2700. That's the 3000. You see it getting lighter. 3500, 4000, getting lighter, whiter, and bluer, and then 5000. So for us, 2700 is a little bit too yellow. So I think we're going to go with 3000, which ends up being a little bit better because 3500 ends up being more like daylight. So I'm in a warmer hue. And now what you can do is push this back into the recessed can. You have these 3 metal springs, tension springs. You're gonna have to push them back a little bit, like so, to be able to push this back up. It'll hold the LED light up so that it doesn't fall down. So now, once you got it mostly in the can, you just push it up all the way to the ceiling, and ta-da, it's all done. Now I have about 8 more of these to do, but now you know how to do it, so you can do it for your own kitchen.